3. 1, 2, 3. Let's go.
Welcome to Teaching Crypto. This is AZcrypto with MrFOMO. Please hit that like. Please hit that bell notification. Most importantly, please, if you have not done so, hit that subscribe button. We love every single one of you. And if you care to, we do have a super thanks feature as well. MrFOMO, a lot happening. Some really important topics on what our viewers, we got some new ones, things that you really need to avoid because these mistakes can be critical. They can make you hate investing. They could make you hate crypto. So we want to make sure our viewers are as educated as possible. I think that's what we pride on ourselves on this show, is being as informative as we can. So MrFOMO, first thing I want to talk about today is Bitcoin before we get to the other hot topics of the day. And some people are frustrated, especially the people that are newer into crypto, or even some veterans are like, what's going on with Bitcoin? You know, we hit 31.8 on the day of the XRP news, and we've been stuck between 29 and 30 for, it seems like forever. Actually, it's been weeks. That's the thing in crypto. Weeks sometimes seems like years. So I went back and I checked earlier this afternoon, what was the exact price of Bitcoin 4 years ago? And there's a reason why I'm going to talk about this here today, MrFOMO. So on this date, July 2019, the last day of the month, Bitcoin was a little over 10K. Why does that matter? We're at 29 now, but let's say we get to 30. I do think we're going to get to 30 fairly soon. So stay with me. That's almost a 3x from where we were, right? That was the beginning of the bull run. Where did we get to? Around 66K, right? Follow me. So I'm gonna even be even more conservative. Let's pretend it was 60K. Let's not even give us that extra little ump over 60. That would mean that Bitcoin, MrFOMO, if it followed the exact same numbers or close, what would that put us at? We were talking about this on the show as an all-time high for this current cycle. Let's see if you can do the math here.
I think we talked about 90,000. I wasn't really paying attention. I was looking. I was looking at a chart.
Well, I've been saying 90,000 is like very, very conservative here, but if we do what we did last time, which we went from 10, well over 60, right? Mm-hmm. So right now we're at 30.
Looking at something like 180, right?
We're at 30, almost 30, a little around 180 BTC, 180,000 US dollars in value as the all-time high. That would be where we would be at the top. And now nothing goes according to plan in life. We know that, but that gives you a range. So really, conservatively, you could say 90K. But if things go well, and this is not the absolute best case scenario, 180. Now, what interests me is this would mean, if we kind of followed similar, at the beginning of the next bull run, not this one, we're talking about the one that is in, it's hard to think about 4 years from now, in 2027, July 31st, and hopefully we're still doing the show. We can go back and watch the show. We would be looking at a 3x from now, which would put us around 90K for the beginning of the next bull run. So as my point is here, as you get frustrated with Bitcoin, you really have to treat it differently than some of the altcoins, even ETH as well, even though ETH also has held its value much better than some of the other altcoins. You have to think about it in terms of months and years, not weeks, not hours, not a 4-hour daily candle. And I understand some people are trying to make quick money, but Bitcoin isn't necessarily always the best way to do that. And I think that actually is good because it gives something in crypto extreme stability, which is what we need. You might say extreme stability. We went from 60 to 15. Yes, but look how quickly we recovered compared to other assets. 15 was the all-time low in December. You're already now, you went over 30, you consolidated back, and now I believe you're beginning now to make the next move to 34, 35. And again, I'm saying 40 before the end of the year, and then all-time highs next year, sometime after the halving. So my point is, Bitcoin is still a great investment, even though we're not giving financial advice. And I just think you have to have some perspective. And one thing that's lost in crypto, and I've talked about this to people that are not in and in, is patience is actually key. And you might think it's the exact opposite. With the alts, yeah, you got to be ready to take profits. But with Bitcoin, you have to be patient. If you want to get in on the lower prices and get the benefits of when it really, really starts to move, there has to be patience.
And I think that's true even for the alts, right? That's why we DCA into some of these projects that we believe in, some of the projects that we know have news coming out, some of the projects that we know have major updates happening. You're going to DCA into those and be patient until you get that sort of buy the rumor, sell the news pump that happens here in crypto. So I think even in alts, you have to be patient and then strike fast when it comes to taking profits, and then also when DCAing in, right? And so when you get these times, this is an opportunity for you to strike, and then you just got to look forward, like you said, and be patient and wait for your chance to strike again and take profits.
And I'm going to keep saying this over and over again because it's true, and it's crazy that the statistics show that a lot of people don't operate this way. You buy Bitcoin when it's boring. Like you said, DCA, never put more than you can afford to. That's the reality of the situation. Even though Bitcoin is proven, you just want to be careful. Obviously, you never want your funds to be hacked or anything like that. So make sure you have it in a safe, secure place. But you don't want to buy it when it pumps $4,000 or $5,000. You're not going to want to buy it when it gets to hopefully between 90 and 180K the next run. Okay, you want to buy it in times like now. And you have an interesting fear and greed index. Go ahead and go over that with our viewers.
It really hasn't changed over the last few days. It's been at 52 since we talked about it last week. And that just goes to show you that there's no major, uptick in sentiment as far as, crypto and the Bitcoin market. And there's also no major downturn in the sentiment as well. And so this is one of those boring times that you're talking about. And as a matter of fact, if it took a hard left and it went down, it also might be one of those times where you might buy in. It's as long as it's something that you believe in long term. And like you said earlier, if we only get back to, let's say we get to 90, that's still a 3x from here as far as your Bitcoin is concerned. That's a handsome profit, right?
And it's something you don't have to worry about in terms of, I did a short on CRV yesterday, so hopefully you guys have been following those. Unfortunately, they had a liquidity hack, and they've drastically gone down the last 24 hours. And so that's one other thing, is you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket in life. So if you had bought a ton of CRV and that was your main alt going into the next bull run, unfortunately, you've had a very frustrating and sad 24 hours. We felt that with Luna. It happens. And so with Bitcoin, at least that's not going to happen. And so that's one thing about Bitcoin, is you can sleep well at night as long as you have it in a secure place.
Yeah. And then I wanted to touch on, you were talking about the price levels and how it'll go up. And I have a hard time believing that Bitcoin is going to push above 100,000, and at least in this bull run. And I could be totally wrong, but I know that the 100,000 barrier is going to be a huge mark to break, right? We talk about psychological barriers, and people are going to take their profits all along the way, especially at those big barriers, right? 70, 80, 90. When we get to those points, people are going to take huge profits. So there's going to be this sort of dampening of the market when we get to that point. And so I think it's going to have a hard time breaking through 100K. If it does, I'll be just as ecstatic as anybody else. But I really think that that's going to be a huge, huge psychological barrier for a lot of investors.
So I somewhat agree with you, but I'm going to push back here. If you remember the last bull run, there were cold days. There were cold months. We had that mini bear before that double top came in. And so I do think there's going to be a retrace. It probably will be well before 100. You might see a lot of people take profits in the 90 area. You might see people take profits before we get back to 60, before we get back to 75. But what I do think is the media attention is going to be insane, because I do believe one of these ETFs will be approved. And I know we disagree about price action. I just think there's going to be there's going to be a lot more younger investors coming in, and there's going to be a lot of people calling for some crazy Bitcoin numbers 4, 8, 12 years from now. And people are going to want to get in. So I do think people are going to be buying at 60, 70, 80, and even 90. Now, at some point, there will be a major retrace, but I do think they will get over. I know I've said 90 is my very conservative, but I do think we'll make a push over 100. I really do. Well, whether it holds over that, whether it does get to 180, we'll see. You know, the beauty of this channel is we're not promising anything, and we're trying to be as realistic as we can, because we're trying to help the viewers, because we don't want you guys to make the same mistakes as people have made, including ourselves, in the last bull run.
Yeah, and you touched on something there too, I think has a lot to do with the impatience of the market. There's a lot of young investors, a lot of people who are first-time investors, and so they don't know what to expect, as opposed to somebody who's more seasoned in the market, that has been through stocks and the ups and downs of the stock market and has been in the crypto market for a little bit longer. You might be a little bit more inclined to be patient when it comes to these things. I mean, and that's the other problem with crypto, is a lot of people get into it because they think it's a get rich quick scheme, right? Like, I can get in, I can get out, I'll be a millionaire, and that's that. I'm done with it. And it just doesn't happen that way. And the reality is a lot different than I think the expectation is for a lot of people coming in. And so, I hate to dampen that, and I hate to be, the party pooper, but yeah, I think that's kind of the problem with the impatience, is that you have a lot of people who just aren't used to investing, aren't used to, long-term holds, and Bitcoin. Unfortunately, they don't understand the market cap and the size and the amount of money that would take to move it to make them millionaires at this point, depending on what they put in. So
that's true. Now, speaking of trying to make $1 million overnight, we had a coin that went crazy. Okay. And it rug pulled. It literally went crazy for about 36 hours. And then today, pretty much, not completely, but almost rug pulled. So basically, the ball token, if you've been following, people were going crazy the last 24 hours. It's a meme coin, and it peaked at 100 million. And it's actually on, this is interesting, Coinbase's new Brace chain. And people were speculating, is this Sam Bankman-Fried? And we did some digging. Very unlikely, because his phone that he has access to right now in house arrest wouldn't be allowed to be on X/Twitter. I don't think he'd have the capabilities of doing all these transactions. Supposedly, people that have visited him said that. And so I don't think it's Sam. I mean, you never know, but it's a crazy, great rumor to run with. And that happens a lot in crypto, as people start these rumors and people pick up on them. But unfortunately, someone probably got hurt this morning. Again, be very careful with these type of projects. You don't know who's behind them. And number two, literally every cent you put in could be gone, not within hours, not within minutes, but within seconds. Yes, you could 100x. It's possible that $100 could turn into 1,000, could turn into 10,000. But if you need that $100 to do other things in life, or some people put in way more than 100, they risk a lot more, and then it's gone, and you needed that money to do some real investing, like buy Bitcoin or just pay your daily bills, it can be devastating, especially for people that are just chasing a quick buck.
Yeah, and I mean, when you're playing around with some of these things, and you have to download their wallet, or you have to go to their site to buy it. A lot of these, there's a lot that goes on the internet. I have a friend who was tricked into investing into a spoofed website that wasn't actually an investment website. It looked exactly like the actual website. But at the end of the day, it was a spoofed website. He was investing his money into there, and I think he lost tens of thousands of dollars anyway. And so you just really have to be careful when you are dealing with these sort of, there's no really other way to say it, shady cryptos that are way down the list. because those parabolic rises turn into parabolic downturns, and you just don't know where in that Wyckoff pattern that you are.
And some people have fired back at me and say, AZ, what's the big deal? It's not people understand the risk. Well, here's the big deal. You are encouraging these type of players to commit fraud consistently. And guess what? It hurts the industry. It gives the industry a bad name. And it invites over-regulation. Some regulation is good. Over-regulation is not. So for the people complaining, and I'm not a pro SEC person. You see it in my updates. I think the SEC's done a horrible job. But if you want clarity and you want some freedom, you don't want fraud to be committed over and over, because that hurts the industry. That gives people that are anti this industry more kind of clout to go after people. And so this is not good for anybody. We don't want rug pulls. We want authentic if crypto is ever going to graduate, this kind of stuff needs to start stopping. And I heard someone on Twitter make an excellent recommendation. What if BNB and the ETH chains required at least 90 days of liquidity to be locked? I said, let's go much further. Let's go 180 days in the smart contracts. Now, I know rules sometimes goes against what people think should happen in crypto, but I think these could be built into the smart contracts. And again, there's no commissioner in crypto, but you don't want people getting rug pulled. That's my point. You don't want fraud. There's nowhere else in the world where you would invite fraud. You would invite someone to change your roof and be okay with them committing fraud. You wouldn't want someone teaching your kids who committed fraud. You would not someone working on your car who committed fraud. You would not someone operating on you in the hospital who was committing fraud. You get my point? So why then would you invite it in crypto?
Bottom line, this person, even though it may not be SBF, they're definitely SBF-ish, right? And you touched on over-regulation. We talked about being able to reach down and buy some of these tokens that are way down the list, right? That would virtually disappear with over-regulation. They would take that opportunity away from you under the guises of protecting the investor. And really, you're not the criminal in that situation, but you're being treated like a criminal. You can't go and buy what you want to buy. You can't go and invest in what you want to invest in until the government approves it. And so that's sort of antithetical to what crypto is about. And so the more this happens, you're right, the more over-regulation will come in, and the less free we'll be to invest in what we want to invest in.
Yeah. And one more thing I wanted to hit on today, and this is really important because a lot of people have been asking me about this, is I have if you don't know, there's been a Sweat app where you earn tokens basically by walking. You earn so much by walking. The earlier you got in, the more you earn. And people have been like, when am I finally going to be able to use these? Well, they announced earlier that it's coming to the United States in September. Okay, so that's the good news. Believe the date is September 12th. Double check on that. And today they had basically people vote, and they did burn 1.8 billion in tokens. So that should help price. Last time I looked, it was this was well before it was worth about half a cent. So you kind of look in your app and see how many you have. But yes, the time is coming where you will be able to sell those tokens very soon. Now, I want to say this. This is really, really important. On the day that it comes, and we'll keep you guys updated if you have this app, there's probably going to be a sell-off because a lot of people have these tokens and they want to either turn it into fiat cash or something else like Bitcoin or ETH or another alt. So just be prepared. If you have a ton of these or you want to get rid of them, you probably need to be ready on that date.
You definitely need to be ready on the date. What's the utility of this token outside of, who's using it to build, right? We talk about tokens like Cosmos, and the reason that they get a big return when you stake your Cosmos is because people need Cosmos in order to build on Cosmos. What are these tokens being used for? I have a feeling that when this breaks out, people are going to sell these and sell them fast. So it's going to be just like any other airdrop of a token. It's basically a meme token, right? You're not.
Well, you're going to be able to exchange it for other tokens. You can go in right now, even though you can't sell your tokens and buy things, products with them. So there is some use case. Like you could turn your sweat coins into headphones or other products where you get discounts. So that basically, I just wanted to make sure I was right, and I was. The date for the United States is going to be September 12th, 2023. We'll keep you guys updated on this channel, keep it here for everything crypto. And so if you have a lot of sweat tokens that you want to use to invest in other things, or you just want to get cash for them, that'll be the day you'll need to be ready to go. Even if you wait one day, your value you get back might be, and it might recover. It might do well in the next bull run. It's not necessarily something I have. I mean, I do have it on my watch list, but it's not something that I would invest in right now. Just me. I don't think the tokenomics are that great, but we just want to give you guys a heads up because some of you have reached out to us and we want to get that information out to you.
All right, I just want to share, and I don't think the chart is going to show what actually happened with this one, but I want to share the ApeCoin chart to just compare like a token drop to sort of what, and it really doesn't show you. I'm trying to spread it out so that it accurately shows you, but you had this, I mean, parabolic drop as soon as it came out. I mean, it fell almost 50%, and I can't get it to show the actual drop off, but CoinMarketCap's not going to show it. But the candle was ugly. Do you remember that day? People were buying in at 12, 11, 10, 9, and it fell all the way like 4 or something.
And it recovered, and then it went back, and then it did a parabolic run, and it's been bleeding big time. And that one doesn't have a ton of utility. They promised a lot.
That one will have more utility, I think, eventually within that ecosystem, right? Because they have the NFTs that's attached to the Bored Ape Yacht Club, whatever. And so it at least has more utility in there. It may have more utility in that system. And that system is more well known than this one, right? But as far as price action is concerned, expect a steep decline when that opens up in September. And then, it could return because people may want to buy some of the things that are on there. You may be getting something with sweat coin that you would have to buy with way more actual USD, on Amazon or something. But to me, I think the smart money probably sells pretty quickly.
You're probably right. Guys, we've got an outstanding show coming tomorrow. Top 4 coins in August. Remember, I know I feel really good about Bitcoin this August. Mr. FOMO's on the fence. That's what makes the show great is you get our honesty, 100% pure. Please hit that like. Please hit that subscribe button and share the show with as many people as we can as we push forward, hopefully soon. Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate it.
Let us know what you'd like to see.
Yeah, definitely. We're always up for suggestions. For Mr. FOMO, this is AZcrypto. You guys have a wonderful evening. We'll see you later and have a good night.
See ya.